Core 2019 is about to hit the street, so let's talk about the biggest, fattest, juiciest, most valuable cards from the set right now. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. Today we are here to talk about the top 15 most valuable cards from Core Set 2019. Now I know for those of you on Twitter, you were expecting something different. Plans have changed. We're gonna have some fun talking about these cards instead. So let's dive right in. We are starting out with Vivictus Asmodai, whatever you want to call it, the Dyer. Now the cool thing about these is, for me at least, these are not reprints. These are like reimaginings of the old Elder Dragon Legends from the original Legend set released in 1994. And Vivictus specifically is the Elder Dragon Legend that I cracked out of a Legends pack. I was only ever able to buy 3 packs of Legends in my entire life. I cracked Vivictus, and at the time, the Elder Dragon Legends were worth $40 when a Mox was worth $15 and a Lotus was worth $30. So when I cracked it out of a pack, everybody went nuts, and I was like a noob. So I was like, oh my god, and I did what noobs do, and I put it into my straight green deck and added like 3 swamps and 3 mountains into my 120 card green deck. As you can imagine, I rarely got to play him. I engineered weird plans to get him out, but I have a special place in my heart for him. May turn out to be a her, I don't know. I've heard rumblings of that. I don't know the sexes of the dragons because I don't care. I don't look for Dragon Balls or vaginas when I look at the artwork. But let's take a look at the artwork here, because this one's kind of funny to me. At first when I looked at it, I was like, oh, this is cool. You know, you've got your dragon flying up there in front of like a big cloud of like ash and cinder and flame. That's neat. And then I kind of like focused in on the head, and I was like, wait, is that the wing behind the head? And I'm like, no, wait, is this a rooster dragon? Is this a rooster snake dragon? What the hell is this? The whole thing comes together. I go, huh? So let's move on from the artwork and let's take a look at the card overall in terms of mechanics. 1 green, 1 red, 1 black, 3 colors for a 6/6 flyer. Whenever he attacks, and for every player, you choose a permanent they have. They lose that permanent, and then they flip over cards from the top card of their deck and puts it into the battlefield if it's a permanent. It's crazy. It's like a mass polymorph effect. I think that is really, really funky. Now, in terms of the values, we're not going to talk specifically about prices here because prices fluctuate a lot, and the idea is to let beginners know what cards to be hanging on to. Now, in terms of bad news for set pricing, guys, out of the top 15 cards we're going to talk about, 14 are mythics, all right? So there's only 1 non-mythic, 1 regular rare in these cards, and that's not a good sign when it comes to finances. All right, so let's move on to what is number 14, and that is another one of the Elder Dragons. This is Palladium Moors the Ruiner, and this is 1 white, 1 green, 1 red for a 3/3, oh sorry, 3 colorless for a 6/6 flying vigilance trample. Man, that sounds good. When I hear that all together, just 6/6 flying vigilance trample, man, that's a nice gut feeling. And it has hexproof if it hasn't dealt damage yet. Now that's an interesting condition because your brain goes, oh, this turn? It's like, no. Once it's dealt damage once in the game, then it no longer has hexproof. It's kind of neat that way. Like, you're going to get to ideally use it at least once. And it doesn't have to damage a player to lose its invulnerability shield. And in terms of the artwork, this is a pretty crazy looking dragon. I mean, it's the armor on there, then just the build and the variation on like the Bolus horns. I like this contrasted against the blue sky. Enjoy this one here. Sister Nicol Bolus, survivor of the Elder Dragon War, the most vicious ever kin. Okay, see, I don't know which ones are dudes and which ones are chicks. Then we got the only rare that we're going to see on the list, guys, and that's Death Baron. This is a reprint, and a really solid reprint. Skeletons you control and other zombies you control get +1/+1 and have Death Touch. This guy's so good that I forget he even has the skeleton part on him half the time. It's really, really solid as a zombie lord. So I'm not surprised at all to see him here in the top list. I mean, 3 mana for a 2/2 that gives that boost to all your guys is pretty significant. And the artwork is nice because it gives this very sort of like, he's got a wizard kind of feel to him with the robes and everything, but there's a real feeling of death with that noxious green miasma around him. Very cool. Alright, then moving on, we've covered the first 3 on the list, so we're on number 11 now. That's Arcades the strategist, the guy who's making people consider wall decks, and considering I like that old school Rolling Stones decks, this guy's really cool to me. 1 white, 1 blue, 1 green, 1 colorless for a 3/5 flyer with vigilance. Whenever a creature with Defender enters the battlefield under your control, you get to draw a card, which is really nice. And each creature you control with Defender does combat damage using its toughness instead of its power, which is really, really cool. And also can attack as if it didn't have Defender, so it acts like a giant Rolling Stones. This is probably the coolest of the Elder Dragons, in my opinion. I like it. It's very different, and it ties into the old original Arcades, because the old original Arcades had a castle effect. Castle was an enchantment to give all your creatures +2 toughness, and that's exactly what Arcades did. I like that they're showing him on a castle wall here in this artwork. It looks very nice. He looks pretty regal. It's cool. And he doesn't look as big as the other dragons. That's conveyed here as well. He's a 3/5. So he's not the same size as his brothers and sisters with that like 6/6 body. But he's a strategist. So he makes up for his size with being cunning. I enjoy this card a lot, actually. Moving on. We have number 10, which is Vivian Reed, the new Garruk replacement, proving we will never get Garruk back. 5 mana, 5 loyalty. First ability is look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature or land from among them and put it into your hand. The second ability is to destroy an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. That's definitely very green. And -8, you get an emblem with creatures you control with +2/+2, have vigilance, trample, and indestructible. This totally feels like a very green Planeswalker, honestly. Digging for creatures, smoking artifacts, enchantments, or creatures with flying. Those are the 3 biggest things that green smashes down on. And the ultimate being something that makes your creatures into a huge threat. Overall, I really like the mechanical design of this card. In terms of the artwork, there's just something about Vivian Reed that I feel like she embodies the new standard of kind of blandish sort of, I don't know what it is. I have to do a video on it because she's boring. The spectral creatures behind her are not. The glowing arrow on her bow, that's kind of cool. The arc bow doesn't look cool enough, but the arrows are cool because they have the creatures instilled in them. But I don't know if I'm just thinking that looks cool in the artwork because I already know what they signify. Now, the blasted landscape in the background, that's pretty cool. That's to represent her ruined home that Bolus destroyed, I'm guessing. But either way, I like that. I like the contrast between the greens in the front and the brown, like, dead landscape in the back with all the broken trees. Very cool. Then we've got Omniscience, a hilariously misnamed card. Alright, so this is 3 blue, 7 colorless. It is an enchantment that lets you cast spells from your hand without paying their mana costs. And this shows Jace walking off into some kind of blind eternities or whatever. This has a very cool feel to it. The concept behind the card is that you're becoming incredibly powerful to the point where you don't have to pay for your spells anymore. And that's cool. But omniscient is like all-knowing. That's what it means. Like, I know everything, I have all knowledge. And it's like, no, all your knowledge is still in your deck, bro. You have so little omniscience, in fact. You don't even know the next card you're going to draw. You can't predict what's going to happen 5 minutes from now, let alone have all the information. So to me, it's a hilariously named card. But it is a fantastic card. In terms of, like, awesome feels, because that's what you want in a core set, right? This is an awesome feels card. Just like the ultimate on Vivian is an awesome feel. It's just one of those, like, big, overwhelming, like, god damn, it feels good to be able to do this. I don't have to pay for my spells. That's a really nice feeling. So Omniscience is a really nice include, guys. I'm happy to see that here. Next up, we're moving into a Planeswalker. We're going to be talking about Liliana, Untouched by Death. 4 mana nets you a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. Her +1 lets you mill the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. If at least one of them's a zombie, then each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So it's a good way to start feeding into your graveyard. So obviously this one is going to have to go into a tailored deck. This is not one that can just be used in any deck. -2, target creature gets -X until end of turn, X the number of zombies you control. And -3, you may cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. Well, this is cool. This is a very, very straightforward, I'm a necromancer, I care about zombies card. I like that. And she looks okay. I mean, her face, The artwork, her body looks pretty nice. Her face looks, I like the way that her hair is kind of like flowing up with dark energy. And I really, really enjoy the way that the zombies look in the background there, guys. They look pretty awesome. They're all kind of shambling up and they have that purple glow in their eyes. Fantastic. Oh, the way that the cloud and the smoke around them kind of matches the color of their body too. Like they're just coming up out of the gloom. You could just hear the scuffling and dragging of their feet. That's cool. Next up, we have Chromium the Chromium the Moo Cow. He gonna move for you, boy. All right, I even forgot where we were numbering it. So Chromium's 8 on the list, so we're halfway through. Chromium, he's another one of the Elder Dragons. Chromium, 1 black, 1 blue, 1 white, 4 colorless for a 7/7 flyer. He's gigantic and beefy. Flash, can't be countered. Flying, slap all these abilities on there. And here's where it gets interesting, and this is where the mutable comes in. Discard a card. Until end of turn, Chromium the Mutable becomes a human with base power and toughness 1/1, loses all abilities, and gains hexproof. It can't be blocked this turn. Alright, so that's a very cool ability in terms of being able to protect him. The idea of a dragon switching between a dragon form and a human form, that's very high fantasy. I totally love that. And I love that unlike the original version of Chromium from Legends, this one doesn't look like a dragon made of metal. You know, the other one, the other dragon, he actually looks like he's made of metal, like a construct or an artifact. Whereas this Chromium, even if he is made of metal, he's made of living metal. Like, he looks like he's like a silver dragon. Very cool. And he's contrasted very well against the background. He's impressive. And his body's a little weird. It's got almost like a sphinx-like aspect. If you look at the back legs, they've got like kind of like a lion or griffin-ish aspect to them, as opposed to more traditional dragon legs. Let's move on. Sarkin Fireblood, number 7. 3 mana gets you a 3 loyalty planeswalker. +1, you may discard a card. If you do draw a card, +1, add 2 mana in any combination of colors. Spend this mana only to cast dragon spells. -7, create 4 5/5 red dragon creature tokens with flying. This is another one of those feel-good one, boys. This is just, yeah. I'm going to look for dragons. I'm going to cast dragons. I'm going to create dragon tokens. Is in the artwork, Sarkin, he looks like he's either all snow. That's probably not scars. He's growing scales over his body. That's pretty cool. I don't know why they call him Fireblood here, but maybe it's because in his hand you can kind of like see illuminated through it. Maybe his blood looks all fiery. Still, it's a cool name. The dragons look amazing, swooping in behind him, and they're all dark and menacing, but the coloration of the sky gives it a very, very violent and aggressive tone. Like, these dragons are descending quickly, and they're going to shred you apart. Let's move on to the next card. Sarkin, get out of here, buddy. A Jiggly Johnny, Adversary of Tyrone from Tabletop Girls. A Johnny, Adversary of Tyrants. 2 white, 2 colorless for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. +1, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. -2, return target creature with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. -7, you get an emblem with at the beginning of your end step, create 3 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. Well, the first 2 abilities just don't excite me that much, but I'm also not a huge white player. I mean, sure, they convey the concept of white fairly enough. Kind of. The third ability actually conveys white more than anything, and the third ability actually feels really good. The artwork, I don't know. I don't know why, but I don't care. When I look at it, I don't feel impressed. I don't feel like he's standing there screaming in defiance. I just feel like this makes him feel puny and unimpressive. Honestly, the Wise Counselor version of him seemed like he had more menace than this one. I don't know. Also, it looks like his weapon changes in size considerably from artist to artist, because his double-bladed, like, halberd axe thing looks smaller in this artwork. Not that that really matters, but let's move on, because this isn't that interesting to me. Let's talk about card number 5. That's Scapeshift. 2 green, 2 colorless. This is a reprint. Sacrifice any number of lands, search your library for up to that many land cards, and put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Good God, I forgot that it's not basic lands. This thing is really powerful, and this is an example of a reprint that's easy to do in a core set, because you'd have to put it into a storyline otherwise. You'd need to fit it into a world like the world story, why so much of the world just instantly changes because of a wave of magic. So in this right here, whether we like it or not, our arrival has altered the landscape. It's an amazing concept that a fleet of magical airships has come along and because of the pure concussive magical force of it, it just sends shockwaves out that decimate and mutate the fundamental magical structure of all the lands around it within a certain radius. The flavor behind this is fantastic. I love it. It's so cool, man. The ships look like they're like pouring magical energy off of them, or if it's like it feels, you know, when you take like something out of the freezer on a hot day and the cold air is like pouring off it in a visible manner, it feels like that, but that's the magical energy pouring off of that. I really enjoy the artwork on this. I genuinely want to see a foil. This is gorgeous. All right. Resplendent Angel is number 4. Now this is a very solid card. 2 white and a colors for a 3/3 flyer. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 5 or more life, you get a 4/4 angel creature token. And the reason this thing is great is because, obviously, first of all, it's just good on the curve. 3 mana for the 3/3 flyer. But the fact that it has an activated ability that will allow you to gain that 5 life, that will make tokens, makes this a threat engine. It's not just a threat by itself, but it will generate more threats while also being aggressive on the curve. You basically have to sacrifice almost nothing to get the upside, where it's like, it's not one of those creatures where at beginning they're top heavy with the mana cost, but it bounces out later when you get to use some more powerful abilities. This card is just strong from the beginning. This is a strong angel with a nice feeling to it, and the artwork is awesome. You have that angel flying at the front, and honestly, she doesn't look that great to me, but all the angels arrayed behind her in kind of like a ring around the light, it's really nice. That itself is resplendent. Like they're kind of like halo crowning this greater angel. But I don't know, she just doesn't, there's just something about her that doesn't really turn my crank. I don't know, maybe it's the short hair. That could be it. I like long hair. I like long hair on the ladies. Okay, so number 3 is Tezzeret, Artifice Master. 2 blue, 3 colorless, 5 loyalty. Let me have another sip of my delicious root beer. +1 ability, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. For no change in loyalty, draw a card. If you control 3 or more artifacts, draw 2 cards instead. That's pretty strong. That's pretty strong. -9. You get an emblem with, at the beginning of your end step, search your library for a permanent card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Good God. I feel like, I mean, I know I must have read him before, but I must have looked at a bunch of spoilers at once because, wow. Some of these, when I read them, there's so many cards, right? You get refreshed. This is really strong. Like, this feels really strong. Okay, let's take a look at the artwork. So you got Tezzeret with his crazy Ethereum arm that feels a little too skeletal. Is that one piece bone, or is that metal? That's pretty intense, man. It makes him look pretty like metal. So yeah, he's definitely got this like black aspect to him, and you can see that he's no longer fully human, right? Like he's definitely sacrificed part of his humanity in his quest for power, but goddamn is he powerful. Holy crap, man. He is really impressive. All right, and coming up in second place, we have Nicol Bolas in both forms. Nicol Bolas the Ravager and Nicol Bolas the Arisen. So, he starts out as on his Elder Dragon side, 1 red, 1 black, 1 blue, and a colorless for a 4/4 flyer. When he enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card, and for a total of 6 mana, you can exile him and flip him over into his Planeswalker form. Now, this is really cool. I enjoy the concept behind this. Now, let's take a look at the artwork on the Nicol Bolas, the Ravager side, because it is absolutely gorgeous. He's got this beautiful like rainbow effect to him, and I love the way that like the flame is just starting to come out of his mouth. And you know, if you like turn on like a gas stove or something like that, you can see the flame at the bottom is blue. So that's what's coming out, that base blue jet, and it's just turning into the flame. And I like that they didn't put, like, I like the artist's choice to not put a big blast of red, because Nicol Bolas has a whole, he looks beautiful. He's like a big, beautiful, like a peacock almost. The blue, like, light effect coming off his claw is so well done. And he's just stands out so well against the landscape and the sky. This card is absolutely gorgeous. All right, and Nicol Bolas the Arisen. Now, what I like about this between the artwork is you can actually see there's a difference in the structuring of his body, right? And this is done by the same artist, so it's intentional. You can see that his horns have, like, instead of being more rounded, now they come down and they're more angular and they jut inwards more, on top of having the, like, the sheathing, the metal sheathing, and the gem that's floating up there between the horns. He's got the shoulder blades or whatever. His wings look different. His arms are much bigger and stronger looking. They don't look quite as long. It looks like his arms may have, like, shrunk a little in length. Basically, when he gained his Planeswalker powers, he gave himself a more humanoid-esque style body. So he has thicker, beefier arms, man. And it's pretty cool too, because this moment here, it just shows him, it's almost like he's like appreciating his own form, like he's stretching out, like, my new body, as he forms it and creates it. Like, you can picture he's just forming it and his arms are like shrinking and beefing up, and there's cracking noises as his horns slam down and the metal fucking starts fusing on and the gem flows between, and at the same time there's the contrast. Like, you get to see the full body of Nicol Bolas in the one artwork. You don't get to see him in fullness. You would if you really squint and look down below, but really the focus is the top half, and it's contrasted really nicely between the two. The whole, like, nice idyllic background on the Ravager side, and on the Arisen we have the dark foreboding. Like, there is a really not subtle, a really overt change in the tone. Nicol Bolas, if you took the flames away and just pulled his claws up a bit and closed his mouth, it could just be a beautiful dragon soaring through the sky. Whereas Nicol Bolas, the Arisen, has genuine menace to him. And on top of that, you can see like a deeper level of what looks like intellect and almost humanity to him, because now he has a more human face. Like, it's been reshaped into something that, like, he's grinning, but his grin has, like, a grin of, like, invested power and malice. It's really impressive. Anyways, I know I went on over long about the artwork, but man, I really like it. So let's talk about his abilities. +2, draw 2 cards. -3, Nicol Bolas deals 10 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Yeah, that's awesome. -4, put target creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Feels awesome as well. -12, exile all but the bottom card of target player's library. This card is feel good in every way possible. This is how a Magic card should be designed. This thing is incredible. What a great job. The only reason, guys, this isn't the top card in the set is because the top card in the set is Crucible of Worlds. That is there just because it's a reprint of intense value. This card was worth an insane amount, and now obviously it's come down because it's being reprinted. And this is actually one of the purposes of the core sets, is to get expensive reprints into our hand and not have to worry about it making sense in the world. Crucible of Worlds, Scape Shift are excellent examples of reprints that didn't have to make sense. So let's take a look at Crucible of Worlds. 3 casting cost artifact that lets you play land cards from your graveyard. The artwork on this is absolutely amazing. It's a gigantic hourglass, and it's constructed out of the universe. You can see in the background, you can see all the starry scape, but the little rods that are the sides of an hourglass, those are constructed out of planets and such, and suns and stars. Well, suns are stars. I never noticed that before. This is the first time that I noticed that those 2 columns on either side actually represent the, like, I knew that the middle part was meant to be an hourglass, but I never noticed that the bottom blue, like, lit up part and the side areas as well are also manifestations of it too. So that is a beautiful extra detail. Now at the top, you have what looks like a bunch of sticks, dead, mulched up, used up trees, as if a forest had just, like, a bunch of trees have been cut down and someone had went and collected up all the sticks and deadfall and put them in a giant glass sphere. Now they're pouring down through this, like, basically the same way that grains of sand pour through an hourglass. As they're doing that, they're being transformed into a brand new forest. That's exactly, this is a forest from your graveyard up here at the top, and down at the bottom is a brand new forest being brought back into play. This card is amazing. First of all, it's fantastic for its power level, but art-wise, it's absolutely incredible. I'm very glad they did not recommission new artwork for this, because this artwork is masterful. Ron Spencer nailed it. He has a long history of doing excellent artwork, and this is just another fine piece in a long series of excellent work. So, my friends, let me know what you think about these cards. Which are your favorites? If you come back later on down in the future and you want to comment about how much things have changed, feel free. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next time.
And together, we are The six color magic.